Yeah, get locked in. Slick, I'm feeling.
I know. Unfortunately, it is time for the genuine work wheels to leave us. They look really cool, but they're also about 17 sizes too big to fit. Let me give you an example, right? Factory Honda Prelude, factory suspension. This is still on factory suspension. It just looks like it's lowered because the wheels are that big. These Skyline wheels, I was lucky enough to pick up for free. They did have some pretty old, dry rotted tires on them. In fact, I think I have a video of that. Bold and cracked. I'm sure they're safe for road use. So I got some spare tires that I had off of one of my other Honda Civics and swapped those on. If you have never had to drive a Honda Prelude with two sets of wheels in the cabin, let me tell you, it is an experience. Unfortunately, I am very much function over form, so these have to go. Let's try one of those fancy YouTube cuts. Yeah, that didn't really work, but whatever. There's a few things I want to get sorted on this car today. The first is I want to wrap these headers. Right now, when I'm driving in traffic, all that lovely heat from the stainless exhaust manifold is just soaking right into the radiator. I actually want to run a little experiment here and see just how effective heat wrap actually is. I'm going to switch the car on and let the motor idle for a bit, and then I want to get a reading of how hot the exhaust is. So it's been running for about 10 minutes. The fans have turned on. Our exhaust manifold is giving off an ambient reading at around 175 degrees Celsius. Let's turn that off and let it cool. We'll get some heat wrap on there and see what the difference is. You remember the other day when we were doing the fuel filter and I was like, you really want to just crack the bolts loose? That is also extremely true for your exhaust manifold, because not only have your exhaust manifold studs been in there for a long time, but they have also been heat cycled about 1 million times. And all that expansion and contraction makes them very, very, very stuck. When taking your exhaust manifold off, make sure you work from the inside bolt outwards. It'll be the same for when you're putting it back on. It just helps to prevent any warpage, anything like that as you're removing it. All right, now that our main nuts are off, it's time to get underneath the car and do the lower ones. We will also have to take our O2 sensor out for this. So I'm just gonna find the plug and disconnect it. Get that out of there. Loosen off these 3 bolts that link to your catalyzer, which I'm going to do with the camera off because I need both my arms. And to make things a little bit easier on myself, I'm just going to split these bolts that are around the join from the manifold itself to the Y pipe so I can take it out in 2 pieces. Number 1. Number 2. All right, time to do some heat wrap. For those of us that haven't worked with fiberglass heat wrap before, here's a few good tips. First is wear gloves. If you don't wear gloves, then by the time that you are done wrapping your manifold, you're gonna have hundreds and hundreds of tiny little fiberglass shards in your fingers. The second tip is soak your fiberglass in water for at least 5 minutes before actually using it, and this will help keep any stray fiberglass strand from getting loose and making everything look messy. Let's cut off a nice long strand. Now I'm going to start on this center one here. It's quite tight in terms of the spacing that's around it. All right, so we're just going to butt that up right to the edge there. We're going to get our first wrap around just like that. Hold that nice and tight and spin the rest of the wrap around the pipe firmly. Now you want to make sure you use a bit of pull when you do this, just to make sure everything stays together. And you want to make sure that your fiberglass weave overlaps itself. Now that we're a few spins in, we just want to go back and lock this piece up here with a bit of wire or a metal zip tie. I personally prefer to use wire as I find it easier to work with. Loop it around the pipe, get it in there nice and tight, just twist. Get that first little twist started just so the wire can bite down on the fiberglass. Grab a set of pliers, squeeze tight, and just do another turn. And that's going to keep our fiberglass there. Cut these off, and then just rotate the wire down to the bottom so you can't see it and everything's all nice and pretty. And then you just finish wrapping your pipe and do the same at the bottom. Now that we've gotten to this section here where this join is going to become way too tight for us to actually wrap each pipe individually, we're just going to loop between the two and continue wrapping down. So let's get some wire around that bottom bit, and I'd love to tell you the process is different for the others, but it's not. So just put on some tunes and get it sorted. All right, those are looking pretty nice. I wound up just doing a single wrap around the Y pipe just because I was running out of material. Let's get them back into the car and then give them another test. Doesn't that just look so much nicer? The last thing that's left is to turn the car on, let it idle for 10 to 15 minutes or so. During this time, you'll see a lot of smoke and whatnot coming off of your heat wrap. Don't worry, that's largely just the water it was soaked in boiling off. The heat wrap itself needs to go through a heat cycle anyway to properly sit in. The car's been idling for about 15 minutes now, which is actually longer than I did last time. So let's see how we're doing temperature-wise. Oh damn, 140. That's a huge difference. So that is a pretty solid drop in engine bay temp just by wrapping the headers. Well, this is probably a pretty good place to end the video. So, the end.